Hello and welcome to this week's video. This week I'm going to show you how I throw off the hump. Throwing off the hump is when you use a large amount of clay to throw tiny objects in succession. This week I'm going to show you how I make a couple of my favorite small objects off the hump. Now first we start with centering the clay. It's so important to make sure that your clay is perfectly centered when you're throwing off the hump, but the best part is you only have to center at the very top part of the clay. The first object I'm making is a small dish. I call these ring dishes, but they're really versatile. People love them, and it's super easy to throw this off the hump. Probably the most intimidating part of throwing off the hump is actually removing your piece from the lump of clay. I've found the most success by using the wire tool while the wheel is running really slowly to wire the piece off, and then just with your hands gently lifting off. And then the best part of throwing off the hump is you just get to keep throwing after that. One of the best tips that I've received for centering clay is just to hold your two fingers on the opposite sides of your lump of clay, and if your fingers don't move at all, then you are perfectly centered, which I am right here too. Now for this next piece, I'm going to be throwing a bud vase. Bud vases are the #1 thing that people throw off the hump, and it's fun because you really have a lot of freedom to experiment with different shapes. This one, I'm doing a cylinder that has a slightly rounded and closed section at the top. This next one is the #1 thing that I throw off the hump, and it is my matchstick striker. At the beginning, this was a really tricky form to make, but I've made hundreds at this point, so I can basically do it in my sleep. But it's basically a tiny little cup that has a little rim that can hold matches, and they're really cute. And there you have it. These are the 3 main forms that I make off the hump. And now we're gonna have a little bit of fun and make some more unique bud vases. Let this one serve as a reminder that, pottery is really hard and sometimes you just gotta smash a piece. But we always try again. And that's just the best part about clay is you can recycle it, reuse it, try again, and actually get that form correct. Now this next one is one of my favorite vases. It's called a donut vase. I've never made it off the hump before, so I knew it was going to be a challenge. So when you're making a donut vase, you are raising up the walls on the inside and the outside, and then you close them so that you trap in this donut of air on the inside. It's a donut vase. And here we are. Here are all of the pieces that I threw off the hump this afternoon. And next, I'm going to show you how I trim these. Each of these pieces presents kind of an interesting trimming situation. We're going to start off with a little dish, which it's so shallow and so short that I can't even adhere it to the wheel with little lumps of clay. So what I did is I just got the wheel a little bit wet and just stuck that piece on there and went about my trimming. Now, when you have pieces that have a really narrow opening at the top, you can't flip it over and trim it on the wheel. So in this case, I'm just using my handy dandy little cheese grater tool and trimming it by hand. Now trimming the donut vase is really fun. You have to trim all the excess clay off from the bottom and then turn it into something that is actually circular on all sides. It takes a lot of trimming and you have to be really careful that you don't punch through, but you end up with just such a beautiful object. And now it's time for my favorite part, and that is putting flowers on each of these items. I decided that I wanted to put around 3 to 4 blossoms on each piece. So here you can see where I'm putting each of those flowers, the different sizes, and I just love how it ends up elevating each of these pieces, making them more elegant and more beautiful. And with that, all of these pieces are ready to go into the kiln for their firing. 2 firings later, and these pieces are ready for their grand reveal. These dishes turned out so cute, but I'm so obsessed with how perfectly that stamp fits in there. Next up, we've got our matchstick striker. This is the first time I've put flowers on a matchstick striker, and I gotta say, I think it's gonna become what I do every time. And now it's time for the bud vases. I love how all of these turned out. I love how they're all a little bit different, all unique, and they all just look like they're gonna look so good with one little flower in there. But definitely the one I was most anticipating was this donut vase. I love how it turned out. I love how quickly I was able to make this and how simple I made it. And I cannot wait to make more of these. Throwing off the hump allows you to make more pieces more quickly. It takes out a lot of unnecessary time cleaning off the wheel, putting new clay on. You just get to keep making as quickly as possible. And it's something that I have really enjoyed learning. It's taken a lot of practice, but I really encourage you to give it a try if you haven't, because I think that you're just gonna love the efficiency of it. Now, I think the most successful part of this whole project was the bud vases. I love this little collection. I can't wait to make more. I have a couple very special projects in mind where I can make a bunch of these bud vases, and I can't wait to show you guys. As always, thank you for tuning in, and be sure to be back here next week for a brand new video. Bye!